There are lots of different kinds of vocal warm-ups, and we'll get into lots of different kinds as we go on because they all have different purposes. Some of them are for breath control, some of them are for range extension, some of them are for being able to sustain a note, some of them are for reminding you to actually use your diaphragm and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different purposes behind them. Some of them are to relax your face muscles. And we'll get into that. One of the most popular ones is just scales. So like, something like that every morning until you don't go too high because that's going to hurt your voice too. And then you can do them in reverse too, but don't go too low because that's going to hurt your voice too. Drink water, and not just like when you're singing, all the time. All the time. You're talking all the time. You're using it all the time. You drink water all the time. It's really key, especially if you're going to be singing, to drink it before, during, and afterward, because your vocal cords need to be lubricated, and that's how you keep them lubricated without any extra gunk. If you drink something sugary, that's going to coat them, and you don't want that. That's not good. If you drink something dairy, that can create phlegm. Water's your best shot. Don't drink it cold. Don't do it. Because what that does, if you know anything about muscles in the cold, they're tighter, right? Think about it. If you're going for a run or something, okay, your muscles get tight. This is the muscles. It's the same thing. You're making it cold, you're making it contract. You're making it harder to produce sound. You're putting more strain. Don't drink cold water. Everybody always like, oh yeah, cold water. No. Not for your vocal cords. It's not good. You want room temperature because that's gonna, your body doesn't have to adjust anything for that. So that's what you want when you drink water. Keep your throat and neck muscles relaxed. A lot of people, when they're singing, if they need to reach a high note, they'll go like this. But you just extended all of your vocal cords. You can't do that because you're trying to make them do something else. So now you're like having them do multiple things that's putting more strain. Some people, when they try to reach low notes, they go like this. Don't do that. You just contracted them all. That's not going to produce the sound that you want healthily. Now, some of us, we use that mentally, but that's why, like, divas, you'll see them go like this. They're using their hand instead. So, okay, so don't actually use your head. You can use your hand. People might be like, oh, diva, but it's okay. That's why they do it. Okay? So just keep your throat and neck muscles relaxed. When possible, use amplification. A lot of us, if you don't have good breath control right now, if you don't know how to project right now, you're going to want to use a microphone to help you project. And you can manipulate a microphone. You can go toward it. You can back off of it. That's just mic etiquette. You would need to learn how to do that anyway. But if you don't want to sing loudly for a long period of time. You don't want to over-sing anything. That's going to hurt your voice. Humidify areas like your home and or workplace. Now that might sound strange. If you don't have a humidifier, don't freak out. You'll be okay. I don't do this, but it still goes to keeping your vocal cords lubricated, always keeping that moisture there. We're in a desert. It's dry, so it's actually really important that you keep the moisture in your throat because you're going to be using it. And breathing, so key when you're singing. And you're like, oh yeah, I breathe. I totally breathe. Yeah, I do. Except, are you actually thinking when you sing, like, I'm going to have to hold this note out, so I need to get a really big breath before I sing this phrase? Are you actually doing that? Probably not. You're probably just breathing normal, and that'll make you breathe either in the middle of a phrase, or you'll overextend the breath, and like, don't do that. Breathing is key for supporting your note, making it sustainable, making it clear, making it sound how you want it to. And we're going to actually have a lesson on proper breathing just to get you more into that. Your lung capacity can increase. So if you can't hold out a note to save your life right now, that doesn't mean it has to be forever. There are vocal warm-ups to help you with that, exercises to help you with that we will be going over later. Choose when to use your voice. Now that sounds really weird, but I know if I'm going to sing a lot, I'm not going to talk a lot that day. Or especially, this is important when you're sick and you still have to perform, because that's happened to me before. I'm not talking. I will not. Because I need my voice for whatever I'm going to do. And I might change the key of whatever I'm going to do, because my voice it doesn't have the same range. I might not sing at one thing so I can sing somewhere else. It just depends. You choose where it's important to be used, especially if you're just getting over a sickness or you're just getting into one. I don't suggest singing a whole lot when you're in those places just because you can hurt yourself. I'm really bad about that. Really bad about that. So I'm talking to myself first, but you have to choose when to use it. When is it important? If it's going to damage your voice, you just opt out of it if you possibly can. So those are the do's. Now you know some of those do's sounded like don'ts, but there are actual don'ts. Like don't clear your throat, like I was earlier. It's abrasive to your vocal cords. It's not helping them out at all. You might have a frog in there. Drink some water. Okay? Maybe cough, but the action of coughing is different than is different. You're actually letting air travel through when you're coughing. There's a difference. Like, okay, no, I just told you not to do that, but just try clearing your throat right now and feel it. Do you feel what you're doing? Now cough. Do you feel the difference? Do you feel the difference of what you're doing? So that's totally different. And one is damaging your vocal cords, and one will still get the frog out, but you're not damaging anything. Do not yell or scream. You're not thinking about breath control when you're yelling or screaming, right? It's all from right here. So it's all super loud, and you're using these muscles to create the volume, which is never what you want to do. You don't want to use this to create volume. You want to use this. When you're yelling and screaming, that's not really an option. If I'm like, woo! Like, that was not a scream. That was me actually in my head voice, but you don't know that. But, because that's not what you're going to do when you're screaming. You don't want to do that. Okay? Just don't do it. Or sing too loudly for an extended period of time. I can sing loudly, but I will not sing everything as loud as I can sing. It's not good for my voice. It takes a lot of thought, it takes a lot of breathing, and so it's possible, but it's still going to put strain on my voice because I don't always sing consciously, like thinking about what I'm doing. Like if you're in the congregation at church, you're not thinking about how you're singing, you're just doing it. If you're on the stage, okay, you might be thinking a little bit more because you don't want to be a distraction. But eventually it'll become second nature if you keep practicing thinking, but you still don't want to sing too loudly for extended periods of time. Do not sing a song out of your range. That's a song that's too high or too low for you. At church, you might have noticed that they sing in keys for men. So if you try to sing where they are, it's too low. And if you try to sing an octave above, it's too high. I'm not saying don't sing. I'm just saying there are alternatives for you. In those cases, you can find a harmony part and sing that instead, because that's probably more in your range. If you're leading worship and you've chosen the song and you're still trying to play it in the guy key, don't do that to yourself. Change the key to fit your voice. That's okay, because if you start in that key and you end in that key, okay, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you changed the key, da-da-da. Like, they'll say that to you when you're singing just randomly. It's fine if I started there and I ended there. Whatever, I didn't change in the middle. Whatever. You can change it for yourself. I've had experience with this actually recently, because I do a lot of harmonizing, and I'll just take whatever harmony someone else isn't taking. But I'm more comfortable with high, but I can sing low. But in this case, the person was already in a really low key. It was a girl, and she was already in a really low key, and I was like, okay, I could sing below that. And I did, and we went through it a few times, and I was like, okay, I can't. I can't. I'll go an octave above what I'm doing, because literally my throat hurt at the end. And if your throat ever hurts, don't do that. Stop that. That is your body saying no. That's like if I touch a stove, I'm not gonna keep my hand there, right? No, your instant reaction is hot. Oh my gosh. That's your voice hurting, is your voice saying, hey, stop that. Ow, what are you doing? Knock that off. Never do that again. What's going on? It's the body's natural, pain is the body's natural response to anything that's putting it in danger, anything that's gonna harm it. God made it like that. It's good. Your throat's the same way. So don't do anything that hurts. So if you're like singing and you're like top of your lungs, like yeah, and then at the end of the night you're like talking like this and it hurts a little bit, probably shouldn't do that. If you're feeling sick and you're still singing and it hurts, stop that. Just silently go to the Lord and yes, Lord, I agree with that song lyric. You are good. Yes, Lord. Okay, like, do what you gotta do. If it hurts, don't do it.